It's brutal. You reread the same page for 3 hours. A stand-up comedian says 2 hours of material from memory. No notes, no pause, no reset. One forgets what they studied yesterday. The other remembers a joke they wrote 8 months ago inside a loud club under pressure. And the worst part, you still think memory is about intelligence. If you want soft motivation, close the tab. This is not a comfort video. This is for the person who is tired of pretending "I forgot" is normal. Your brain does not remember what it receives. It remembers what it survives. Think about a comedian on stage, 200 people staring. One microphone, one missed beat, and the room goes silent. Now compare that to your studying. Quiet room, warm drink, zero pressure. Your brain knows the difference immediately, because memory is not built through exposure. It is built through retrieval under stress. You already know this. You've heard your favorite movie quote 50 times. But try writing the exact line right now, word for word. You freeze. That gap matters. Recognition feels like mastery. Production exposes weakness. And comedians understand this brutally well. They do not study material. They attack it. A comedian will run the same 5-minute set 20 times in 1 week. Same setup, same punchline, same timing. Not because they are obsessive, because the brain physically strengthens pathways that survive repeated pressure. Academics call this myelination. I call it wrapping the wire in armor. That is why one comic remembers 90 minutes on stage, while you forget 3 bullet points after lunch. Most people treat memory like storage. It is not storage, it is reconstruction. Every recall attempt rebuilds the pathway again. That is why passive review feels smooth, and active recall feels brutal. One comforts the brain, the other changes it. Now watch what comedians do differently. They rehearse standing up, they rehearse pacing, they rehearse with timing, they rehearse with failure. Because the brain ties memory to physical state. Movement matters, pressure matters, embarrassment matters. That is why you remember humiliating moments from 11 years ago, but cannot remember what you studied Tuesday night. Emotion locks memory in place. Comfort lets it leak out. You're probably thinking, yeah, but comedians are naturally gifted. Wrong. Most comedians bomb for years. Dead silence, bad timing, forgotten lines. They train recall through repetition under pressure. That is not talent, that is conditioning. Here's what you do. First, close the notes. Second, explain the idea out loud. What did you forget? Now raise the pressure. Stand up. Walk while speaking. No peeking. Next, record yourself teaching it from memory. Watch it back. Where did you choke? Now make it harder again. Teach it 24 hours later. No review, no hints. What survived? That is the real memory. Not the highlighted page, not the reread sentence. What survives pressure survives life. The first attempt feels horrible. Your brain stalls immediately. You suddenly realize how little you actually know. The sentence breaks halfway through. The idea disappears mid-thought. You reach for the notes automatically. Good. That feeling is honest. For the first time, your brain is no longer hiding behind recognition. Now it has to perform. And performance exposes weakness instantly. Most people spend years avoiding that moment. They reread. They highlight. They convince themselves familiarity is understanding. Then pressure arrives. An interview, a test, a presentation, a hard conversation. And the entire structure collapses in real time. Because comfortable repetition creates fragile knowledge. Pressure creates durable recall. That is why comedians can lose a joke mid-set, pause for 2 seconds, and still recover without panic. Their memory was trained under stress. Yours was trained under fluorescent lighting, passive review, and false confidence. One survives pressure. One dissolves inside it. That difference changes careers, relationships, entire lives. And almost nobody trains for it on purpose. That is the brutal part. And honestly, that is basically the whole system. Pressure, recall, repetition, done. That alone already puts you ahead of most people. Because most people never test memory at all. They only expose themselves to information repeatedly, and hope retention magically appears later. It does not. The brain does not reward exposure. It rewards reconstruction. but there is still one thing missing. And it is the reason certain comedians can remember material from 6 years ago, word for word, while other people forget a name 30 seconds after hearing it. Identity. The best comedians do not merely practice jokes, they become the kind of person who rehearses constantly. Every conversation becomes material. Every awkward silence becomes feedback. Every failure becomes another repetition. Their brain stops seeing recall as an event. It becomes identity. That changes everything. Because once the behavior becomes identity, consistency stops feeling difficult. Nobody is coming to build your memory for you. Nobody is coming to sharpen your focus. Nobody is going to drag you into repetition when your brain starts begging for comfort. You will finish this video. You will nod along. You will probably even feel motivated for 10 minutes. Then most people will go right back to the exact behavior destroying their recall right now. Passive review, comfortable rereading, fake familiarity. The cycle repeats again tomorrow. Or you interrupt it. The people who train recall this way do not just remember more information. They operate differently under pressure. They think faster when stakes rise. They speak cleaner when panic hits. They recover quicker after mistakes. Their brain stops freezing in important moments. That is who performers become. That is who executors become. That is who dangerous thinkers become. And that is who this video is actually for. Look, most people watching this will forget the entire video by tomorrow morning. Not because the information was weak, because they never forced themselves to use it. Knowledge unused evaporates fast. That is the law. Be the rare person who actually trains recall instead of pretending to care about improvement. Subscribe. Because the next video breaks down exactly how elite soldiers don't use willpower. They use scaffolding. It's almost unfair. And how you can train the same response before your next interview, argument, negotiation, a high-stakes conversation.